I'm going underground with Mayor Eric Adams to find out how they're handling the homeless, how they're handling the mentally ill.
Nothing is more undignified than to allow people to exist in the elements and not give them the support and services they need. It's important what you're doing to highlight this because it's a global and it's not an international issue.
We're talking about this on Mayor TV, of course, but legacy media doesn't want to talk about this. One thing everybody knows about New York is it has one of the biggest subway systems in the world. That's great for getting around this city, but it also brings some challenges. And among that are the homeless, those that are facing mental and emotional challenges that go underground to get out of the weather, to get away from the hustle and bustle. So I'm going underground with Mayor Eric Adams to see what they're doing with some of the psychiatric mobile response teams and find out how they're handling the homeless, how they're handling the mentally ill, and what happens when they involuntarily remove someone to protect them from themselves. So come along, because we're going to go underground and see what's happening beneath New York City.
In February 2022, 7,800 New Yorkers have been connected to shelter, with over 640 in permanent affordable housing. Our outreach teams work around the clock to get these New Yorkers the help they need and the help they deserve.
Hey guys, Dr. Phil here. I'm still in New York on the West 4th Street and getting ready to take a spin through the subway with the mayor. We're going to take a look at what's happening with homeless and with the mentally ill. And I can tell you there's been huge progress made here because of the mayor's leadership. I think it's a model for America. I think this is something that people need to take a look at because it's inspirational. How's it going, my friend? Good to see you again. How's everything?
Well, grinding.
Yeah.
Brian, what's up, Brian?
How are you, Mayor?
Good. What Brian has done for our administration, he's took us into the crevices of people living on the street in our subway system. There's nothing that is humane about walking past people who are living this way. The first month when I was in office, I went out in the streets and visited people living in tents in the encampment. I saw bipolar, schizophrenia, drug uses, human waste, stale food. People didn't know they needed help.
You know, we were talking just a few minutes ago, and I was saying, when I was in private practice, even with people that had supportive families, had resources, were affluent in every way, so many of them didn't know they were depressed until they weren't.
Right.
So you can imagine people that don't have those resources, don't have that support system, and are severely mentally ill. They don't have a North Star. They don't have a reference point, and they're lost and confused, and people walking past them, then they have that loneliness that sets in.
Right.
And you know, if you're lonely and then you have a disease, the mortality rate goes up as high as 40% more for people suffering from loneliness, just that alone.
Right. That's why
it's terrible.
Yeah. And you're right.
It becomes kind of a vicious circle where it all feeds on itself.
And we don't really acknowledge how loneliness plays a major role in the predeterminants of health. And other countries are starting to have loneliness czars, they understand. We have to be honest about the problem in order to come up with real solutions. And we're not afraid to be heckled, booed, called names. History is going to be kind to us.
Yeah, well, you can't change what you don't acknowledge, and you're acknowledging it, and that's what we have to do. And this is a great model for everybody that's watching this across the nation.
So true.
So I'm glad to be here and look at this. And, and put a bright light on it and keep it on it.
So appreciated.
And if you drive through our city, January when we took office, we had encampments all over our city. People sleeping on the streets. We saw people sleeping on the roadways, highways, and we said no to it. And you now move around our city, you don't see those encampments. You know, I see other cities, and we just refuse to accept abnormal activity in the city.
How have y'all motivated those that are chronically homeless and mentally ill that don't want the intervention, don't want to come off the street
I'm sleeping in the street because I'm not an American citizen. You
because of paranoia or just the chronicity of it.
Right.
How have y'all been able to get them off the street?
Well, so that's where the involuntary removal piece of this strategy comes into play. And that's really where it begins for somebody who is in psychiatric crisis and can't recognize it. Any hope we have of getting that person to the good place we all want, where they're in supportive housing and have all kinds of treatment surrounding them, really begins with getting that person to a hospital, getting them to the hospital door, and then getting them admitted for inpatient care. And you know that it's not always pretty, right? Sometimes people are extremely resistant, and it could be a bit of a scene to actually get someone physically into an ambulance and there. But you know what? When you can get medication into somebody's system and stabilize them, amazing transformations can begin. Treatment works is really the message we're trying to convey here. It begins with this willingness to do an involuntary removal and not be entirely reliant on whether that person is ready to accept care. Because that's a place a lot of people just can't get to.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about, because sometimes it may seem like something is being forced on somebody, but that may be the fact. But I've seen homeless people that have a foot or a limb that is days from going gangrene. And if you don't force them into treatment, they'll die. So it may be ugly, but you've got to do it to save them. And 30 days later, they will say, oh my God, thank you.
Without a doubt.
Thank you, because the fog lifts, and then they say, you saved me from myself. It wasn't the environment, you saved me from myself. And sometimes it's hard to make that decision, but you got to make it for them until they can make it for themselves.
And the earlier we respond, the more likelihood that they will accept and work through the treatment. We were out yesterday and we saw someone who had no shoes on. It wasn't to the point that his body was experiencing, some real medical issues. But if you ignore that person, it's only a matter of time. So that impacts health costs. That same person could push someone to the subway station. That impacts this public safety. So the fact that we're not responding early enough and being clear in our message, we don't know the long-term impact of what we're experiencing.
And we don't wait till the foot is gangrene.
That's right. And we were talking earlier, so many people don't understand the neurological components of things that are diagnosed as psychological disorders. They're a disruption of the neurotransmitters. And it doesn't matter. You can talk to them till you're blue in the face, but if you don't get them help at a neurological level, nothing is going to change. You've got to get them to the neurologist, you've got to get them into medication, you got to get them flowing right, and that won't happen.
And this is a byproduct of the failure of closing our psychiatric wards, that many of them had draconian practices. We're clear on that. But we went from one extreme to the next. We closed those wards, we put them out in the streets, we expected them to have self-care. We have to be honest that there are people in our society that can't take care of themselves, and some will never be able to take care of themselves. We just have to do it in a humane way.
Money lessons can be hard-earned, especially when it comes to making the most of finances. Keeping all savings in one place may seem smart, but it doesn't allow money to grow effectively. Well, today's episode sponsor, Acorns, is here to help. Acorns is a financial wellness app that makes it easy to start saving and investing for your future. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that matches you and your money goals. You don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you get started with the spare money you've got right now, even if all you've got is spare change. It only takes 5 minutes to set up an account. So take that first small, simple step to getting your money back on track. Sign up now and join the over 13 million all-time customers who have already saved and invested over $22 billion with Acorns. Head to acorns.com/Dr. Phil or download the Acorns app to get started right now.
Paid non-client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 1 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/Dr. Phil.
Poor sleep impacts productivity, focus, and energy, making it difficult to tackle daily tasks effectively. Tossing and turning through the night leaves many feeling drained and unmotivated. Beam's Dream Powder offers a solution. This science-backed healthy nighttime blend is clinically shown to improve sleep, helping users fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed without grogginess. Dream combines powerful all-natural ingredients like reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin, creating a blend designed for consistent, restful nights. It has become an essential part of nightly routines for those seeking better sleep. The ultimate sleep refresh for the new year. Try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil for up to 40% off.
The success of our city has been overshadowed by random acts of violence, and many of them associated with those with severe mental health illness. We need to have stronger laws that allow what's called involuntary removal. People who are in danger to themselves and in danger to others, we need to be able to take the action to involuntarily move them off the streets.
What has moved you to be so passionate about this, Mayor?
I was a transit cop. I was in the system. I rode these trains. And I would see a person who started out, like we saw yesterday, Brian, a person who started out that, maybe he had shoes on, then eventually didn't have shoes on. And I watched that decline. And I knew that you can't just hope this to go away. You have to have a response. And I saw those people do terrible things to themselves and terrible things to others. And, it broke my heart when I go and see what they call the space case, where someone was strapped to the subway track. And just watching how, if you don't correct the problem, it's going to continue to erode over and over again. And we can't be afraid to acknowledge the reality that some people will never be able to live on their own. So we need to be there for them in a real way.
Isn't that a real measure of society? I've always said, you could measure the morality of a society by how people take care of their young, their elderly, and those who can't take care of themselves.
Well said, well said.
I mean, that's a measure of society.
And we stopped taking care of those who can't take care of themselves. We honestly felt, let's act like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Let's just turn our heads. And, we took a lot of criticism. When this administration and when Brian was talking about some of the things we need to do, people told us, don't do it. You'll never win this fight, Eric. And it's political suicide.
Well, it's easy to say, these are just lazy people. These are bums. They've been called hobos. They've been called everything across the years. But when you start breaking it down and you see what percentage of these people are incapacitated.
Right. And what it is that you have those these are family members. And you would speak to family members who would see their loved ones' lives are spiraling in a negative direction, and they don't know where to go for help.
Yeah.
And so many of the people who you will meet in a station like this have somebody somewhere lying awake at night, some brother, some mother, who's never stopped worrying about them.
And I've worked with some of these people and tracked their families down to try to reunite them, and realized I understand why they're not at home.
Right.
They ran away from violence. They ran away from abuse. They ran away from sexual molestation and incest. But there's got to be somewhere else besides freezing on the street.
Right.
I thought, we'll get these people back home. And I went, oh, no, they don't all need to go back home, but they got to have somewhere.
Right. And look at Jordan, the young man. He went through our system over and over again.
I miss my son. My son didn't have to go through this. I didn't have to go through this either. It hurts. Really, really hurts. What are we gonna do, people? What's gonna happen to us now? I had enough of this. The system is rigged. Come on, people. Let's do something about this.
And you hear people now who are his family members saying it was wrong what happened to him, but it was wrong that, we didn't save him. And we all have an obligation to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're going to go out and put themselves in a situation where somebody's going to take action.
Right.
And to save others.
We've all probably been in a situation where we've been on a subway and someone is acting irrational and potentially even dangerous. And then we're all thinking to ourselves, oh, what should I do something? So I understand the fascination with this case, because again, for those of us that have ridden the subways in New York City, where there's a lot of mentally ill people hanging out in the subways these days, we all have to think about things like this. He decided to take actions, and the question is, was he overzealous in the action that he took? I don't think he meant to kill him.
There's no right answer to this.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
So,
no, it's not.
Yeah, very difficult.
This is Sergeant Newman.
Are we finding folks are riding the trains also now, Sergeant?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. There is a couple of people that will be riding the trains, and what they do is they go to point A and point B just to keep warm.
This was my, when I was a transit cop, these were my stations, I rode these trains, I did midnights doing it, and it was a different time. 1984, a lot of violence, graffiti, there was a whole feeling of disorder. Just a total feeling that people just threw up their head. They just decided to just give up. And so, but we were consistent about it. And we were out here every night and stayed committed.
What's been the most effective thing? You've lowered crime
Yes.
on the subways so much and so consistently. What's been the biggest weapon? I know you've increased police presence. Is it the removal of those that need help and care? What's been the most effective thing across time?
Combination. Number one, I had a real partner in Albany with Governor Hochul, who understood how important it was in our transit system. This is the lifeblood of our economy because it's a great equalizer.
Right.
You could have the Wall Streeter with the waiter riding side by side. And so we knew it was important that not only should people be safe, they must feel safe. And the omnipresence of a police uniform just sends a signal, like right here. This is a perfect example. Sergeant, explain what happens here in the county.
So right now, I have a DHS worker and a clinician from DHS. They're going to assess the guy, see if he needs an assistant. If he got to take shelter. If not shelter, we have a woman bus upstairs. He can sit in a woman bus until 6 o'clock in the morning.
That's right. So you see, this is not a police first approach. Now you need a law enforcement officer because this person could wake up, if he's schizophrenic or bipolar, he could wake up with a weapon. Many times they're bilingual. See how fast? See how he can turn? See how fast he can turn?
Yeah. Is this a mobile psychiatric response team here?
Yeah, yep. This is called Scout and Path. But you see how fast it can turn? It can go from just see how fast? That's how fast it can turn. So when people say, why shouldn't police be here? They don't realize it can switch like that. And now you have just civilians here, they could be hurt. You understand? This is how serious.
Street because I'm not an American citizen.
This is where people get pushed into the rails or whatever. In a rage, it's irrational for a few minutes.
And that's why it's important when people ask, well, why do you have police involved? Because that's how quick. If you just civilian, right. This is a perfect example. And then you see the anger. And you have him saying, here I'm and you are not taking care of me. That's the anger that people have. We spend $6.5 billion taking care of this federal problem.
Yeah. That's pretty staggering.
What's that? Yeah, it is. It is. It is, when you think about it, not even here. But I believe that's what the people who are pushing back on what we're doing, they don't know how quick this could change, And when I was a cop, I would be on the subway system. When I would talk to someone that's homeless, they would instantly get agitated like that. Now, what if they had a knife?
Yeah. Or you had a woman walking with her children.
Right,
Or something, and
right.
somebody gets agitated for no apparent reason, and they just get caught in the situation.
Right.
It may not even be aimed at them.
Right. Like this incident right here, you know? And you know how hard it is to build that trust? You got to see these people over and over and over again. And it's clear this woman is unkept.
Right.
Seems like just from a preliminary observation, it's clear that she's dealing with some psychiatric issues.
And what I found in talking with some of these people is they go into a shelter, they're afraid that what they do have, they're going to lose.
Right.
If they have a pet, for example, they can't take their pet in. If they've got their belongings in a cart or something, say if I leave that out, it'll be gone when I get back.
Right.
And they don't realize it's the first step on a path to getting to a better life. And it's not as easy as it seems.
And what we try to do, and this is so important what you're saying, because what we try to do is address the need based on the person. Like, you have a pet, we have shelters for pets. We have some people that should not be in congregate settings. We want to put them in settings that is unique to that. We had 8,000 people we interacted with. Brian, we had 8,000 people we interacted with, and about 800 we were able to put in settings. Brian, talk about the uniqueness that some people we don't want to put in congregate settings because they don't function well there. Some people we put in different settings.
Yeah, absolutely. So the model of shelter that we're really promoting is called safe haven, right? Where a person gets their own room. There are much more lax rules about what time you can come and go in terms of the curfew and how many nights you can be away without losing your bed. And we're absolutely seeing that it's as you would expect, more appealing to a person, and it makes it a lot easier for us to get people to accept shelter. At the same time, we do encounter some people because of their psychiatric needs that they don't want a bed of any kind.
Right.
They simply want to be left alone.
I was just saying, some of them that we've encountered, they don't want to give up their belongings.
Right.
They might have a shopping cart that they're pushing around and say, if I go into the shelter, I'll come out, it's gone.
Right.
And we have some capacity to voucher people's belongings that are valuable.
And I think about this for a moment. Doing what we're doing is costly. If we had $6.5 billion, we could do more. But instead of that, we had to deal with a national problem and pick up the price tag.
$36 trillion. That is the U.S. debt, and it gets deeper and deeper by the day. Our debt has never been higher, nor have the stakes. The government is looking to slash the federal budget by $2 trillion, and no one knows what that will mean for your job, savings, and future. I've seen a lot in my time, and there's one thing I know for sure. You need to prepare before it's too late. I trust Preserve Gold to help protect my wealth, and I strongly urge you to do the same. They are the only precious metals firm I trust and recommend to my family, friends, and audience, and they have a special offer just for you. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 to get your free precious metals guide from Preserve Gold. With gold prices recently breaking records and analysts predicting this trend to continue throughout 2025, you cannot afford to wait. As a bonus, you can get up to $15,000 with a qualified purchase from Preserve Gold. So don't wait. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 today.
We keep going back to the city was, we lost valuable money and resources that could have helped us to do the things that were on the ground.
And where did that money go? Where did that support go?
Dealing with managing 220,000 migrants and asylum seekers.
And that's cost, what, $5 billion over 2 years?
$6.5 billion.
Over 2 year period?
Over the last fiscal analysis that we did recently.
6.5 billion.
Right. In the roughly 2 year period.
Is that because of being a sanctuary city?
No, it's because no matter coming here, we here in this city, you're required to give shelter. People mix up the sanctuary city with the migrants and asylum seekers. Sanctuary City says in New York that if you come here, you can get the goods and services you want. But this city states for anyone, if they're documented or undocumented, that if you need a place to stay, housing, we have to give you housing by our state constitution. Our state constitution.
Yeah, it's under a court decree.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Decades ago.
And
It's right to shelter. Right to shelter. That's what it's called. So no matter who you are, you come to this city and you don't have a place to stay, you have a right to shelter. You know, that's different from the sanctuary city. People conflate it sometimes.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, they conflate it sometimes.
Right to shelter was never conceived with the migrant crisis in mind.
Right.
Homeless people who are from here.
And then so all of a sudden you've got an influx.
20,000. We were getting at one time, we were getting 8,000 a week, 16,000 every 2 weeks. You know, look at the number. The numbers speak for itself.
And where before that, where were you putting them?
We were just we had a normal shelter system. We had about 64,000 in our total shelter system.
And you had that many beds?
Yes, we found beds we were able to take care of. So now you take that 64,000 out of 8.3 million people. That's our total system. And then within a short period of time, it went from 64,000 to 220,000. 220,000 plus 64,000. That's close to 300,000 people.
Yeah, it just overwhelmed the system.
Food, clothing, healthcare, educating 40,000 children. It overwhelmed the entire system.
Yeah. And when you find someone like these people down here, you have a mandate to try to find them shelter.
Right.
We have a mandate to offer a bed to anyone who wants it.
Offer it.
Yes.
And provide,
not compel it.
Right.
No, we can't compel a shelter bed. We can sometimes compel a hospital bed when certain conditions are met.
And that's why we want Albany to assist us and give us the involuntary removal, codified in law, and get the whole health system connected to understanding there's nothing dignified by seeing what this young lady here. This is not, look what's on her left wrist.
Yeah. Yeah, she's been somewhere.
Yeah.
She probably walked away. They probably don't have any idea where she is.
Right.
She probably walked out an exit and was gone. All right.
And so people want to simplify a complex system.
We're going to protect the rights of immigrants in the city that are hardworking, giving back to the city in a real way. We're not going to be a safe haven for those who commit repeated violent crimes against innocent migrants, immigrants, and longstanding New Yorkers. That was my conversation today with the Border Czar to figure out how do we go after those individuals who are repeatedly committing crimes in our city.
Did Mr. Holman make any specific request from the city in order to work with you in this crisis?
His desire is clearly, again, what my target area is. And what I've learned also from sitting down with him and a representative from the Biden administration that was there in the meeting as well, we have 500,000 children who had sponsors in this country that we can't find. We can't find them. We don't know if they're doing child labor. We don't know if they're doing sex crimes. We don't know if they're being exploited. 500,000 children. There's a level of hypocrisy that everyone that states they want to protect everyone but innocent individuals who are victims of crimes and children. I want to support and protect children and innocent people that are victims of crime. And those who don't understand that, it's not up to me to try to convince them. I know what my job is, my goal is, and I was clear of that while running and when I became mayor.
Tom Holman, thank you for sitting down with me. You had a meeting today with New York City Mayor Eric Adams today. Thank you for talking to us about that.
And thank you for making it possible. I think you had a lot to do with it, so thank you, sir.
You met with him today. How'd the meeting go?
Well, you're the first person I'm talking to about it, so it went very well. It went better than I expected.
Is that right?
Yes. I think Mayor Adams is, he understands the politics of immigration enforcement, but he understands the importance of public safety and keeping New York safe. I'm a career law enforcement officer. He's a career law enforcement officer. That meeting wasn't between a cop and a politician. those meetings between two cops. And I was happy to see that. And I'll be honest with you, I got a whole new outlook on the mayor today. I mean, I called him out this past year many times about being a politician and police officer. I was wrong. He came through today as a police officer and a mayor that cares about the safety and security of his city.
Good day with Tom.
Well, I tell you, he said something to me today. We sat down and talked, and he said, you know, I've called the mayor out several times in the last year. I was wrong. He said he is a good man and with a clear focus, and he said a lot of things we don't agree with, but I was wrong. He's a man that cares about safety of people in
all that
America
matters to me.
and this city. He said, I was so impressed with that man.
Mutual.
He couldn't say enough about you. He said, you all disagree about some stuff, but not about the things that really matter, people's safety and children.
You know, and I always use the fractions. If the common denominators are right, you can add together.
Yeah, that's right.
We got common denominators.
Well, I was proud to be able to introduce y'all, last week, and then here it's come to fruition. So thank you for meeting and being open and talking about that.
No, love it. And I'm sure it was an eye-opener. You guys were down at the border. You know,
it was, and he's so focused on the fact that these migrants coming in are subjected to these cartels before they get across the border, and that's so. The only humanity is the guards that are down there.
And that is what those who have this idealistic approach, they don't want to deal with the realism of this.
Yeah,
cartels are exploiting so many people, families. 500,000 children are missing that we don't know where they are, that were here. People who are coming here, not being prepared. We got to deal with this in a real way. And that's what this administration is doing.
Yeah, and I think the leadership you're showing in so many areas, including what you guys talked about today, I think will start a domino effect across this country that can really change safety in America and help finding these children.
Right.
And that's what we've got to do, is just start checking off as we go down finding these children. Your leadership in this is amazing. You're providing leadership in lowering crime in this city and stepping up for mental health and all these people. So I'm so proud to be able to help tell this story.
No, it's so important. Part of it is that after you hear about a horrific crime, many people are removed from it. I go to the hospitals. I speak to the parents. I assist in paying for funerals. I cannot tell you, when I was in office, as soon as I got elected, I had an 11-month-old baby that was shot in her head. Thank God she lived, and I sat in that hospital room with her mother. I saw Officer Rivera and Maura's family members after they were assassinated as police officers. And those who are not on the ground to see the impact, it's easy to talk about it. But when you close up the way I am to these problems and these families, a different approach.
They're not statistics.
No, I'm not.
They're people with lives and all, and you're addressing the humanity of it, and God bless you for doing that, Mayor.
New Yorkers must be safe on the subway system. Over 4 million riders use this system every day to get to their place of employment, to school, to visit their loved ones. This is a crucial lifeblood of our city, and it's imperative that New York City remains not only the safest big city in America, but the safest city in America, and our subway system must lead the way.
What's the average time they're in the system once they, like if she had said, I'll take the help and gotten in the system?
Well, so we have a lot of people who drug-likely discharge because we find that it's drugs rather than mental illness that is explaining our erratic behavior.
Right.
So that brings down the average in terms of how long you will stay. In that city-operated foster, we typically give them for a few weeks. It's not 3-4 there.
And where do they go when they leave?
Ultimately trying to get them into permanent supportive home. Don't have the supply at this point to, in most cases, be able to discharge them directly to housing. And so we have specialized mental health shelters that people often go to as we wait for a housing bed to open up.
Right.
But we also, for people who are able to keep in the hospital longer, for a few months, we actually do have a program where we're discharging people directly to supportive housing.
You guys want to go on the train? And a lot of people come on the train, they will sleep on the train, the ability to survive is real. They figure out a way.
They'll just keep riding it.
Right. They ride to one end of the terminal. We started to do what's called end of the line, where you will meet them at the end of the line and give them the services that they require.
How long can they ride before they get to the end of the line?
From one end to the next is probably an hour and a half ride. So you figure they ride back and forth, 3 times a night to get them through the night. You got heat here. They feel it's safe if they're in the conductor's car.
How much of the support can you get from federal government?
It needs to be a full approach, city, state, and federal. And think about it, the most affluent country on the globe, we have 10 cities across America.
What you're doing is such a model for the rest of the country, and that's what I'm focused on. I'm really working on this, and I want to press this on the agenda.
Right. No, it is. And the first order of business is we have to stop surrendering. We surrendered in this country. When you look at what's going on in San Francisco, Los Angeles,
out of control.
You can't surrender. You have to identify the problem, and you have to be willing to face it. And the most important thing, you got to ignore the noise from the numerical minority. They are not speaking on behalf of what the American people want. They organize these legacy medias, outlets. They're not speaking on behalf of the American people.
No, they're not. And I am committed to doing just that at Merit. That's why we're here. That's why you're setting the model, and that's what we need to get out there.
The unwillingness of people who are at these leadership positions, they're so concerned, I don't want to be canceled. And that's why I was clear when I said cancel me, I want you to all go back and Google Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Google what they said about those who commit crimes in our city and what they said in our country. They said those who commit crimes need to get out right away. That was their position. So this is not a new position, because in the era of cancel culture, no one's afraid to be honest about the truth. Well, cancel me, because I'm going to protect the people of this city. And if you come into this country, in this city, and think you're going to harm innocent New Yorkers and innocent migrants and asylum seekers, this is not the mayor you want to be in the city under. Well, I don't want to be criticized. No, you can't do this work if you're afraid of them.
No. That's why I sent you that message I did at that press conference. That's master class. That was great.
And you using your platform to highlight, where we ought to be going. This is perfect timing for all of us. The right leader, I feel I have a partner now in Washington instead of feeling like I was alone.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Well, I think you do. And that's what I'm saying. That's the agenda that I'm going to push and recommend. And you certainly have their respect, I can tell you that.
Your speech at the Garden was excellent.
Thank you.
And I've got a question for all of us. Have we lost our minds? We have the First Amendment in America where our government has said we will pass no laws to infringe on our freedoms for religion and speech. So that's the law, but we're muzzling each other. What is going on? We have a law that protects free speech, so we start taking it away from each other?
And that was not an easy crowd to give them some good, solid, talking points, but you had them.
A lot of people were yelling bumper stickers, one right after the other, and I said, I don't agree with everything that he says and does,
right?
But I'm here to talk about don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe.
That's right.
And
right.
push back against the bullies.
Right. And that's what they are. You know, we allow a small number of bullies to intimidate us, to scare us.
Well, I call it the tyranny of the fringe.
I like that. I like that a lot.
That's where we're getting off?
Yes, 14th Street. This is another station that is well known because it goes across from one end to the next. And you know, you'll get a homeless issue here as well. You know. So see, like look. This is right here. Look at this look at this guy here. Look at his foot. Look at his foot.
Yeah.
That's gonna lead to an amputee. Now remember, a lot of people down here don't get proper health care. Some of them are diabetics, some of them have heart disease, a lot of chronic conditions. And they're down here, you know, it's gonna lead to amputees, it's gonna lead to other major
and nobody knows, nobody pays any attention to it.
Right.
But you know, we're talking about this on Merit TV, of course, but the legacy media doesn't want to talk about this.
It's not popular. And people believe ignore the problem can solve the problem instead of let's acknowledge the problem and come up with a solution. And they fail to talk about it. In fact, they demonize those who are saying this is wrong. We cannot allow our fellow Americans, our neighbors, our brothers and our sisters to live on the streets in the element.
Well, how important is it that we talk about this?
It's crucial because we have become so accustomed to the abnormality of this homeless crisis that we no longer see it. And it's almost it's time for someone to say, hey, the Empress doesn't have any clothes on. Let's acknowledge that and make sure we do what's right.
Yeah. Well, they're going to hate on both of us for talking about it. You know that, right?
You know, I was told, let your haters be your waiters. When you sit down at the table of success, we're going to be successful.
Yeah, I think so too. And I appreciate you coming on Merit TV to talk about it.
Thank you very much.
Well, I hope you found that informative and it gave you a different perspective and point of view on the subway system in New York City, particularly if you've never been down there. It's a great system, and I really want to thank everybody involved in making this take place, particularly NYPD that was there with us, so many of the mental health workers, the nurses, the responders that helped these people so much. They're down there when everybody else is home sleeping, everyone else is home safe, and they are dedicated people that put themselves on the front lines to take care of those that, frankly, can't take care of themselves. So thanks to everyone that made that happen, and a special thanks to Mayor Eric Adams for getting out late at night, because we started about 11 p.m. and wrapped up about 1:30 a.m. So thanks to the mayor, all of his team, and all the responders in NYPD.
Even through the trials and tribulations, he's the best in the city together. Yeah, she's the best. Yeah. Keep on, keep on, keep on, keep on. I've been here 20 years, singing to the people, making them feel good. So keep on, 'cause you are New York.